Hi, everyone. OK, let's go straight to the next one. So if you are an AI-first enterprise, and you're building your future by curating prompts on top of ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini, you are building on a very shaky and poor foundation. You'll end up overspending by more than 10x and getting out-innovated by your competitors. You will likely end up on the wrong side of history. So this talk is to help you get on the right side of history, to help you succeed. And don't get me too wrong, I don't want to be negative about ChatGPT. It's an amazing technology, same for Claude and Gemini that I was building at Google. Especially when ChatGPT launch sparked everybody's imagination about all the existing scenarios and now how you can build them better than before and much easier. And also about all the new things that you can build. It was really amazing. And then the more people will realize that, hey, I can change the prompt, I can do this in context, few-shot learning, and really make ChatGPT and such systems, do more of what I wanted to do. It was pretty impressive. It was very impressive. But for enterprises, for your enterprise, most likely this is not enough. Anybody can go and curate a prompt. Usually you don't need that much of expertise, and you definitely don't need troves of raw data that you as an enterprise may have been building up as your IP and differentiation. And you may be wondering, OK, then what's the future for enterprises? What should be the future for my enterprise? Not to go too deep into the why, but just to take it out of it and make it clear from the beginning, the future for enterprises is open source AI and custom, tailored AI for your domain and task. And it's going to be much higher risk for any enterprise that adapts slowly, and ends up getting disrupted, as opposed to anybody who adapts it fast. But now you may say, OK, you're saying that this is the future for my enterprise, but when I look around, that's not what most enterprises are using. What's going on? Well, it's true. Most enterprises right now are using closed AI. They're using the APIs by OpenAI, Anthropic, or Gemini, which, by the way, my team was building at Google. But those APIs, they give you extremely limited customization flexibility, very limited capability for you to really differentiate and develop your IP. They also come up with very limited privacy and security. You don't get to choose where that data goes. I've heard from so many enterprises saying, hey, I can't send my data to OpenAI. Also, for especially regulated industries, they raise a lot of concerns for privacy, transparency, auditability, raising all these compliance concerns. And then those solutions, typically, they lock you into a solution that comes at very high costs. But that's what most people were using until for most enterprises, DeepSeek came out. And then they realized that, actually, there's a better future for my enterprise. I can succeed with open models, because while before I thought that they're not as good, actually, they're almost as good as the closed ones. You can see that almost about a little bit over a year ago, there was like 8% plus gap. Now it's like a 1% plus. That was a couple months back. But now it's actually even less. So they're almost as good as the closed ones. But even this small quality difference that you see right now, it doesn't really matter. Because what many enterprises and increasingly more are coming to find out is that you can get an open model that, yeah, maybe a little bit worse than ChatGPT. But the moment you customize with your own domain and data, then the quality jumps way higher, blows often ChatGPT on the other side of the park, especially the more specialized scenario you have for your enterprise, which is very common for most of the scenarios that most enterprises are building. So that's why many enterprises that we talk to, they say, that's what I want to use. I want to use open source AI because I can customize this much more flexibly. It's not the black box behind an API. I can have full control to innovate. It's much better for privacy and security. You can choose where you deploy on what is your most trusted infrastructure. Of course, it's more transparent, better for compliance and audits and all of that. And you don't lock in, and you have much lower costs. So if you're still on the left side using closed AI, I would challenge you to think about it and say, hey, does that really look like the future for your enterprise? Is that really what you want to build your enterprise on? Is that what your competitors will choose? It's clear that the right solution is open source AI. But you may say, OK, that all sounds good. But why aren't more and more enterprises using right now open source AI? I mean, there must be, what's the issue here? Well, the issue is that it's challenging. We've talked to some of the biggest enterprises in fintech, in surtech, manufacturing, you name it. And the same consistent message came again and again, which was, hey, we want to use open source AI. We want to control our IP, be able to innovate flexibly. We don't want a black box behind an API. In some cases, they said, specifically, as I said before, hey, we just can't send our data to OpenAI. It has to be something open source that we can run in our own infrastructure. But the same story again and again. They said, you know what, open source AI, though, it's very chaotic. It's hard. There's so many things, and they often don't work. We don't know where to start. Sometimes we try to do it, and we fail, went back to ChatGPT. There's some companies, though, that succeeded, like a healthcare company that we worked with, that said, you know what, we got a small fine model. We customized it with our own data. We got way better quality than GPT-4 that was 10x or more the size. So we have a solution now that's dramatically higher quality, much lower cost, like more than 10x, and much lower latency. We're not going back to ChatGPT. But now there's Qwen 3, and there's all these new models. We want to be able to use easily and experiment with the latest and greatest. We are not a platform, ML platform company. We need an easier way to stay and be able to use the latest and greatest. And there are some solutions, whether using open source or closed source, have gone to production, and usually they face issues with reliability, guardrails, and things like that. These are the main three challenges we keep hearing. Last one is also for closed source. The first two primarily for open source. These were the challenges that even when I was at Google over a year and a half ago, and I was building, actually I started efforts to productionize Palm, that then became Gemini, that I was hearing from enterprise and was expecting that enterprises, because I could see back then that many wanted to use open models, but they were struggling. These are the challenges that increasingly they would be facing. And that's why we built Oumi. We launched it, the open source solution, it's Apache 2, about 4 or 5 months ago. It's one of its kind end-to-end platform. It gives everything that you need as an enterprise to experiment end-to-end, from data synthesis and curation to pre-training, post-training for full fine-tuning, parameter fine-tuning, RL techniques, with most of the common libraries, evaluation with academic benchmarks, LLM judges, inference with pretty much all the inference providers you would think of, both closed ones, but also all the open source libraries like VLLM, SGLang, Llama CPP, and many more. It works with any model, Llama, DeepSeek, Phi, Qwen, InterVL, at any scale, from the smallest to the largest ones. Also, you can run it anywhere. You can experiment with a small Llama on your laptop and debug it, and then say, OK, now I want to go train the biggest Qwen on my, HPC cluster or AWS. You just change some deployment configuration, no code needed, and it will just work. So it works. If you're an ML engineer as an enterprise or a researcher doing data-driven research, you can use it, again, pretty much almost no code or extremely low code. But if you are a researcher, you know what, no, I want full control. Again, it's Apache 2, open source. You can go customize models, training loops, whatever you want. In the just like 5 months that we launched, it's already 8.4 GitHubs, more than 8,000 GitHub stars, more than 1,000 members in Discord. And we've been getting very, very positive feedback. But then there were some enterprises that said, you know what, that's really great. That's really a huge boost for me. But for me as an enterprise, I want to use something like this at bigger scale. I need some more help. And that's why we started building the enterprise version on top of the open source, keeping all the capabilities that enterprise wanted, evaluation, monitoring, fine-tuning, distillation, data synthesis and curation, again, working across any model, any platform, any scale. And then adding on top of that the resource management and observability, meaning what are all your data sets, models, all the things that you have. And then also adding additional intelligence and automation so you can get time to value 10 times faster. We heard it from many, many enterprises in the past where they had literally hundreds of scenarios they want to productionize. And the main limitation was human time to build them, because it would take so long to do this. So Oumi is being built by a really amazing team coming from Palm and then Gemini at Google, Apple Intelligence, Meta. We have a very extensive academic network that support this effort because, again, it's a very noble cause to help advance open source AI. Really great investor advisors and already adoption by many engineers and many enterprises. So with that, wrapping up, I would like to wrap up with what I started. And hopefully this time it may make a little bit more sense. If you're an enterprise and you're building your AI future, by curating prompts on top of ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini, you're building on a very shaky and poor foundation. You will end up spending more than 10x that you should, and also getting out-innovated by your competitors. So I would urge you not to get left behind. I would urge you to choose open so you can get all the benefits that open source provides you. And with something like Oumi, you can get all these benefits without the challenges. You can experiment with open source AI, easily, flexibly, and reliably. I have a technical talk later today in this auditorium at 11:10 where I'll go deeper in why open source is the right solution, also more about what Oumi provides. I'll leave it to that right now. Thank you very much for your time.